Hey y'all, Jack Collins here, because when there was trouble, you called me. And today, we're taking a break from all the slapstick talk and everything else in between to talk about one of my personal favorite comic book shows, Teen Titans 2003. I always did like DC over Marvel, don't quote me on that one. The show pretty much got me into the comics and got me reading Judas Contract and the Jeff Johns run immediately and realizing that they're awesome. It just goes to show how watching a show can lead to people's media literacy bells going off and wanting to check out the media that the show is based on. And that in of itself gives DC and to an extent Marvel more money from people reading said comics. Also, this show got me my first ever crush in the form of Jinx. Did I say that out loud? Don't quote me on that one. I thought she was cute. Let's just move on. This is probably the thing that pops up in most minds when they think of the iconic superhero group, and it probably forever will be because of how good the series was with its action, humor, storytelling, and animation. With characters like Robin, Cyborg, Terra, Raven, and Beast Boy having really compelling arcs that get you to know the characters way more than what you did on the surface. It's a really interesting way of making characters grow, and gives you a break from the team action to focus on one member at a time to give them more than just what their basic characteristics are, and lets the writers really delve into who these characters really are. Robin's just a guy trying to be a good leader and friend to his teammates. Cyborg is someone who wants to be their own person after being on a team for so long. Terra is a tortured soul who longs for freedom to make her own path after being treated so badly by Slade. The same can be said for Raven and Trigon. And Beast Boy just wants to be a leader and to prove to his former family team, the Doom Patrol, and his newfound family, the Titans, that he has indeed changed from what he was when he started out as a sidekick to them. But I for one am surprised that out of all the Teen Titans that Starfire never got her own arc. And there actually would have been one planned for her, which would have involved a massive space war with the Omega Men getting involved after Blackfire was banished from Tamaran, but it was cut due to Gwen Murakami and the crew feeling that it'd be too much for the Titans to go to space and wanted the show to be way more grounded as a result. But this didn't stop the team from making episodes focused on her rivalry with her evil sister Blackfire, as well as giving Tamaran some much needed spotlight. But one episode in particular starring her remains to be my favorite episode of the show, and to an extent, one of my favorite episodes in any superhero show. What's it called? One word, Troc. Now I know what you're thinking. What does this word mean in context, and what does that have to do with the title of the video? Well, my friends here watching this video, as we all know, racism is a problem that's been happening in the United States. And it's gotten worse over time, and even in this day and age, racism still rears its ugly head. And it's one of the few problems not just in the US, but around the world as well. Now, how does a superhero show made for kids tackle this subject with maturity, as well as teaching kids how to act when they see that someone is being racist? The more realistic example I could think of is the Static Shock episode Sons of the Father, on how Richie's father, Sean's, blunt racism towards black people, and especially Richie's best friend Virgil Hawkins, aka Static. This escalates to the point where his father, Robert Hawkins, confronts Sean about his views and tells him off while they're trying to find Richie and Virgil, in one of the best voice acting moments I think I've ever heard come from a voice actor. Kevin Michael Richardson deserves an award for that performance. Robert didn't act with violence or showing Sean the door. He actually helped, and that made Sean change his ways for the better in the end of the episode. Now, how can Teen Titans, a show mostly starring characters that are cyborgs, aliens, trained vigilantes, half-demon goth girls, and beastie boys, able to tackle such a taboo subject as racism with it mostly being an action show? Well, let me tell you about a little episode called Troc. The plot essentially is that the Teen Titans are working together with a renowned space hero named Valuor in a battle against his arch-enemies, the Lotrixes, to help stop their invasion from coming to Earth. Everyone seems content with Valuor, all except Starfire, who he targets for most of the episode's runtime due to her Tamaranian heritage. She gets into a conversation with Cyborg about it, and he explains to her his views on what people thought of him as a robot. After that scene, she tells Robin, who is especially not happy about Valuor's treatment of her, and wants to double knee his ass for doing so, until they arrive on the Lotrix's ship, and while the Titans take care of the invading forces, Valuor attempts to disable the ship from the inside, but is caught in its energy field, causing him to weaken, and Starfire saves him, much to his resentment towards her. But unlike the ending to Sons of the Father, Valuor does not learn his lesson, and as a result, the Titans call him out on his racist behavior against Starfire, causing him to leave in disgust that her friends would side with her and not against them. And after a wonderful speech from Starfire, after that bigot leaves, the episode ends. Man, I love Trock. What more can I say about it? It's just that good. This is my favorite episode bar none due to the message and how it's presented in a way that is real despite being a sci-fi setting and a superhero show made for kids. I was really impressed with the way Starfire dealt with Valior, the racist prick, and I also really liked the conversation she had with Cyborg about it, especially with how Cyborg said that people used to be scared of him too, and probably call him names he didn't appreciate as a result. Cyborg being the first to get pissed makes sense seeing as how he's African American, and he's probably endured discrimination in the past. Also, let's not forget how mad Robin was when he heard that. Jesus Christ. It takes a lot to get under his skin, but Valior pushed the wrong buttons when Cyborg told him. And let me tell you, I have never seen Robin more pissed off than this moment right here. The fact that he looked up to Valior while fighting alongside him against the Lotrixes is one thing. But hearing that he picked on his friend due to being a racist prick set him off entirely. And if Robin didn't have any self-restraint, he would have beaten him to a pulp and given the double knee drop of doom. And heck, props to Raven for telling him off at the end that he's still insulting Starfire when he said that backhanded comment about her being one of the good ones. Speaking of Starfire, she showed incredible maturity and class in response to Valior's constant prejudice and elitist remarks. It was a great metaphor for kids watching the show on how it deals with racism and discrimination in a way that does not involve violence of any kind. Instead of rising and literally fighting back against his horrible remarks like she does against other villains, she showed him compassion and let her skills do all the talking. And ultimately, this is what we all can do for ourselves in the real world. Racists are driven by fear and anger. They show hate through stereotyping people by blindly following the media, or grouping an ethnic group in a negative way because of a bad experience with that person from that specific ethnic group. Well, if Starfire did try to retaliate and fight back, she only would have proven Valior right, as that was what he expected her to do. And that's the thing, as much as we want to retaliate against these racists, we'd only be proving them right by fighting back. It's ultimately about being the bigger person and educating these people on their shortcomings, and I highly respect Starfire for doing that. While I felt really bad for her during the episode, I was really happy that her team defended her and called out Valior for his terrible behavior against their fellow teammate. And to this day, Star's end quote still lingers in the back of my mind, as should everyone else's. Not everyone will like you, and although emotionally it hurts, it's the way it is. Basically, don't focus too hard on what you don't have. Focus on what you do. We each have our closed circle of friends, and that's quite enough for us to carry on and keep living. As for people who hate, let them boil in their own misguided thoughts until something worse comes to them. Valior is also proof that not every person who fights on the good guy's side is a hero, and he seemed good because he wanted to stop the Lotrix's plans, and he is also pretty bad because of his blunt bigotry towards Starfire. The reason why they let him off easy is exactly as Cyborg says.
And you know that if you punch him out, it'll just confirm all the bad stuff he thinks about you.
Just like in real life. Sure, a person could spit on you, call you names, think less of you, all due to some traits that you can't help about yourself, such as race, gender, sexuality, disabilities, weight, height, etc. But the second you fight back, it proves you are just as bad as it tells them, I'm right, see? These people are violent. These people hate me / my group. It turns you into the enemy and makes you feel targeted wrongfully as a result. I feel like this episode does an amazing job at showing this. They don't tolerate his actions, but they don't feed into his beliefs. Essentially, he stays the same as most of them do, and they tell him to fuck off, as they should. It paints it in a painfully accurate light. Though I've never experienced racial discrimination, I know how it feels to be on the receiving end of other types of discrimination, how it feels to be called slurs out of hatred and disgust, and how it feels when you defend yourself or fight back, they take it and make you the villain. The point isn't stay silent. The point is don't tolerate this for yourself or others, and stand up when you see someone or something being treated like crap. Also, the treatment of Valior at the end actually makes sense to me. The fact that he immediately drops the compliments and shows that he never really let go of the prejudice in the first place. He's experiencing cognitive dissonance because he believes Tamradians are lesser, but at the same time owes Starfire greatly. So he rationalizes it as if she's one of the good ones. He never lets go of his prejudices towards Tamradians in general. Saying that she is one of the good ones is basically a backhand insult by saying her race is still in general bad. That's the reason the Titans treat Val Harvey at the end of the episode and why he doesn't show his Captain Atom Major Force looking ass in this universe ever again. All I can really say is props to you, Teen Titans, and to an extent Static Shock for being good teachers in how racism can and should be dealt with. We live in a world where racism and discrimination is all too common in today's world, and the true heroes who stand up for it not with violence, but are standing up and call it out instead of revealing people's true colors. And I have to praise the main voice cast, especially Scott Menville, Carrie Phaeton, and especially Hayden Walsh here, as they did a phenomenal job with their characters and the situation they were in. My praise also goes to Stephen Root for voicing Val-Yor, and making him out to be as much of a bigot as he is a hero. I also mostly know Stephen from voicing Woozy Winks in Batman the Brave and the Bold. He was hilarious in that. Well, to wrap it all up, I guess what I'm trying to say about Teen Titans 2003 is that it's a show with heart, humor, superhero action, and laughs in one titanic package. And this episode happens to be my favorite of the bunch because it is a reminder that bigotry can be fought against in many ways instead of violence, and speaking out against it is important. Well, I want to know from you guys, the viewers at home. Did you like this episode? What are your thoughts on it? And what's a superhero animated series episode that stuck with you even today because of its message? Either way, thanks once again to my new editor, Rocco Rotten, for editing this video. This is Jack Cohen signing off. Also, they should have totally made a Jinx figure in 2003 Bandai toy line. Just saying, she got no toy.